on DAB+, and on the Talk Radio app. Christo on Talk Radio.
Afternoon, it's Drive here on Talk Radio. Front page of today's Daily Mail is what we're analysing. Apparently 12 to 15-year-olds, the next to be offered the COVID jab, coming after the news from yesterday that 16 and 17-year-olds will be offered the jab. Let's talk to, we'll start with Carlos in London. Carlos?
Christo, how you doing, my friend?
Fine, thank you. So you heard what Dr. Paul McKay had to say about younger people being given the jab. What did you make of it?
I think, look, I'm going to be honest with you, I think you'd have to be insane as a parent to believe that your child should have a vaccine that's not actually going to affect the child in a positive way. It's actually got more chance of affecting your child in a negative way. A vaccine is supposed to be protecting you for something. If a child doesn't need protection, why has my child needed to take a vaccine?
Well, he would say that there have been cases of long COVID among children, that there have been cases of COVID among children. He would also cite, as his article does, that because it's being transmitted among younger people, that's going to affect as well schools remaining open come September. If all younger people are together and it's much more easily transmissible because they've not had the vaccine, that could mean that the authorities, the government, get cold feet, close the schools again, and then you've got that adverse effect as well on their education. Would that cut any ice with you at all?
No, not at all. I believe closing down the schools was more of a political thing rather than a health and safety kind of thing.
What do you mean a political thing? How so?
It's very much when Boris Johnson and the government get pressure from certain groups, whether it be SAGE or people with a certain mentality, they tend to go with that, especially when it comes in the media. Boris Johnson, I voted for Boris Johnson in 2019. I thought he was going to be a decent Liberal leader. He's not.
Sorry.
He just wants to be a person that is loved by everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I'm sorry, Carlos, I didn't vote for Boris Johnson. I didn't vote for Corbyn either. But I'm sorry because I've seen so many of you and us duped by that ridiculous communist. That's what he is. Yeah. He's a ridiculous communist.
Yeah, the person that I voted for is not the person that's in office today. The stuff that he's done throughout this whole pandemic doesn't make any sense. The fact that he's U-turned on so many things shows that he's not a leader. We don't have a leader in this country, and it makes it even worse that we don't have an opposition in this country either. Because the opposition, all they do is agree with Boris and then have a go at Boris when he's doing something that they actually agreed with in the first place.
Well, their opposition is that things don't go far enough. There isn't actually anyone, other than some in the Conservative Party, that are asking, or even journalists. There's been a huge failure of journalism during this as well, because, some of what Boris has done I've agreed with, a lot I haven't agreed with. But when questions aren't asked, and when proper questions aren't asked by either the opposition or journalists, what that means is that it feeds into people thinking that there's something more sinister going on. And that is a real failure, because people have the right. I mean, what I really liked about, look, whether you agree with it or not, Dr. McKay's piece today was that he actually wrote, and that's why I praised him in it, saying that parents are absolutely right and it's fair that they ask questions. It is fair that they ask because of the fact that, what is going on, how worried should parents and their teenagers be about the claims and counterclaims on safety. And I think that's the kind of tone that, we need to be having. He writes, actually, I quote directly, parents and teenagers are right to ask questions and they deserve honest answers. Now, you may not agree with him. I want you to agree with him, but you may not. But at least he's being an adult in the room in a way in which some other of the politicians and journalists haven't been.
Now, granted, but what you've got to remember as well is that any child, I believe, up to 16 years of up to 16, is able to just have the vaccine without the parents' consultation or
No, I think it's 16 and 17s can, but I don't think under 16 they can.
No, granted. But but at the end of the day, they're still children, right? So they're still under the jurisdiction of the parent. The parent are in control. They're liable for the children, everything else, the whole welfare. So for the government to turn around and say that they don't have to have this consent, again, to me, is idiotic.